You're welcome.
Thank you so
I'm not getting a
much.
commission. I'm not getting a kickback. It's not an affiliate link. It's none of those things. We're here because Lili has helped me, and I want her to be able to help as many voice actors as they can to pursue their dream and to get better at their craft, to win more gigs so that they can get as much joy out of this work as you and I get. What's happening, Boot Junkies? Mike Delgadio here. And today we're tackling something that's been frustrating for so many voice actors out there, including many of you who've reached out to me. As some of you may know, I am a coach and I coach voice actors one-on-one on setting up their home studio, work on their workflows, the technology parts of voiceover. And many folks, when they come talk to me, they come to me with the same issue. After we get their studio dialed in, they have this same recurring issue. Got a great voice, invested in decent equipment, you're consistently sending out auditions for commercial work, but you're not booking. Sound familiar, right? And I get it. It certainly happens to me too. I send out auditions that I think sound fantastic, but I get ghosted, right? Happens more than I would like for myself, for sure. The real reason most talented voice actors aren't booking commercial work has almost nothing to do with their voice quality, how you sound, or really even your equipment if you meet a certain baseline. It's about a few critical factors that maybe aren't talked enough about in our industry. Maybe there's some industry secrets. And that's why I've invited Lili to join us today. She's an expert voice actor. She's coached countless voice actors themselves to transform their booking rates by addressing some of these exact issues. I want to start right off the bat because you've really helped me book more work, and you've illuminated some ideas that were like a complete mystery to me. So when you talked with me before, you said some of the biggest misconceptions that you think people have when it comes to commercial voiceover, especially voiceover for commercials. Give us something. What are some of those misconceptions that you have? We have.
I think that, so the first misconception is that your voice is enough, right? And I think that's a fair misconception because most of us come to this because of our voice, right?
Right.
I got into this because somebody complimented my voice.
Sure.
A lot of people did. And then I was like, oh, okay, maybe I should do this, right? Yeah. And then I'm sure I think we talked about it. Same thing happened to you.
All the time.
And it happens to a lot of us.
For sure.
So it makes sense to think like, okay, the voice, this is the Porsche, the Ferrari. So let's drive this thing, right? And I got to be honest with you, back when I started back in my day, it kind of was enough. But then about 10 years into my career, it stopped being enough because a lot more people joined the party.
Yep.
So, more voices, more great voices. So now voices are a dime a dozen, unfortunately. And also trends change completely. We used to be able to kind of be a little superficial about our reads. They were almost like musical. So now basically your voice is kind of like an extension of your emotions or your point of view or whatever it is you're going to say, rather than just this tool that you're putting forth.
For sure.
So I think that's a big misconception people have, that the voice is enough. Like it's more about what is behind the voice. And we'll do an example of that later. And I think people will understand how that works.
I mean, certainly the prevailing wisdom has become a lot more that it's called voice acting for a reason.
Yeah.
That, we have to become better actors. It's not just, I've got a huge voice, I'm the voice of God or whatever it is. You do have to become a better, more facile actor.
Because you're saying these words that are weird and clunky and unfriendly, and you gotta mean them. So that requires a skill, right? You gotta act. Acting is.
Yeah.
You say stuff that you didn't come up with, right? The other huge misconception, it's kind of like an industry secret. Really, it's like a huge trap that everybody falls into, and I call it the reality gap. And it's basically the concept that what you hear in commercials is what you have to do in the audition. So,
okay, wait a minute. Your audition shouldn't sound like the commercial?
No.
Let's unpack that a bit.
And this is something in our coachings we've talked about a lot. So you would think they would want to hear what the job would sound like. The audition and the recording session, they're like two different landscapes. Okay. So the audition landscape is one where primarily you're faced with a lot of competition. Yeah. And you have no production elements. You have a script. And what that means is you have like this huge kind of sandbox that you can play in. And you've got to use that whole sandbox because you have no production elements. You have nothing to help you. It's just you and the script. And you have to stand out. So it's very different than the production. So the stakes in the production are different because now it's not you competing with other voice actors. Now the brand is competing with other brands. So,
interesting. Yeah.
So now the stakes are completely different, right? So now they've got to make sales. They've got to be more muscular, right?
Right.
And so this is why we often end up pushing on words in recording sessions. Like we emphasize and now we have more energy and we go faster. The client, they need that to compete on the market. And also in the session, we have production constraints, right? So you got to land this word on this image. Now there's music, you got to come in before it ends, or there's a sound effect. You got to work around that, So you have all these constraints. So what happens in the recording session is basically like a compressed version of what you might have done in the audition. And this is why we say in the audition, you have to be more creative. You have to do more. You have a bit of a blank slate, which most people don't realize. They just see the words and the words cramp their style and they go, what am I supposed to do with this? There's a lot more that you can do that meets the eye. Also, the thing about the audition that I think most people don't realize, it's kind of the creative part for the client and the advertiser,
Right.
They're hearing their words for the first time. They want to be entertained. They want to see what you've done, with what they gave you. Mm-hmm. So for them, like, it's kind of a fun thing, right? So you've got to meet them there. And that's what's going to help you stand out from the lot. So when a production is conceived, the advertiser and the brand, let's say Tide, okay, the brand is the buyer. We call it the buyer in the industry. Mm-hmm. So the buyer hires an advertising agency. They get together and they're going to make a commercial, and their initial idea at the beginning is like, they just want to connect with the consumer. Okay. Their idea of a perfect commercial is basically you when you're referring something that you love to a friend, right? So I'm like, have you seen Mike's show? Oh my God, I've found coaches on there. I found gear on there. It's the best, right?
Right.
So it's just me talking. I'm not going, have you seen Mike's show? It's the best, right? I'm just basically myself.
Right.
That's what they're looking for. That's what they're looking to reproduce. They can't do the referral on a mass scale. So they create the commercial. Mm-hmm. But that's what they're aiming for. That kind of like authenticity. Like they want to connect with the consumer, right? Okay, fine. They have this great idea. Then they conceive a script, whatever concept. It goes to the legal department. Well, you've worked in corporate. You know what legal departments do. Yeah. Take a big old axe to the whole thing. And then now you got to change this and you can't say that. And, slowly but surely, the language is getting clunkier and clunkier. Mm-hmm. Then after that, the buyer is like, oh, we're doing this big campaign. We better get everything in there. This is a big one. We got to say this and we got to say that. Let's sell this too and sell that too, right?
Yeah.
So now they're cramming words and it's getting clunky. And then the advertising agency is like, oh, what is this? This is not what we talked about in the very beginning. Mm-hmm. But they're still married to their idea of connecting and sounding authentic and creating that real connection with their consumers.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what do they do? They put it on us. Say, you fix this. And in the audition, and this is why you'll see all those directions, they're like trying to tell you, like, they're cramming all those ideas in there to maybe something's going to inspire. Please don't get caught up in the words. Like, just bring humanity to it. Be real, and that's why we see those directions. And they want to hear that vision that they've been fantasizing about forever, right?
Right.
And then, as we just talked about a couple minutes ago, we get to the production and now the client comes in and goes, no, I'm in the driver's seat here. Now we're competing with other brands. Let's hit on those words. That fun, real, authentic thing. It's not cutting it for me.
Right.
Let's get that word here. Let's make sure they hear that. Faster, more energy. Well, let's make it pop. That's that reality gap. And it's why it's there. It's like an idea versus reality. And this is why when you hear, if you audition for stuff and you get the breakdown and it says, we want it to be conversational, we want it to be real. And then you hear the commercial, you're like, they're full of crap. Like that's not at all conversational, right?
Sure.
Well, it's just that the idea didn't work out in reality.
Right.
But they maintained that idea right into the audition process. Yeah.
And it's interesting because of what you've taught me, it's also helped inform my my e-learning, the stuff that they still want the announcer stuff, but I can actually, I can deliver it more different ways that often makes them happier, rather than just being like straight, we're going to be educator mode, which can often be quite stiff, and we can make them sound a little bit more natural at times. For the people who are like, I'm not sure exactly what you mean, considering we're not talking with each other, can you help us put our arms around what it means to be conversational? Like,
yeah.
What does that mean for
totally.
somebody who doesn't know it?
For sure. And I do think different people have a different way of thinking about it. When it's done well, everybody agrees that, that is conversational.
Sure.
So the way that I like to describe it is it's basically you, the way you are, on a good day, when you're honest and you say what you mean and you mean what you say.
Yeah.
Just kind of like what we were talking about earlier, this kind of referral thing where you're like, do you know Mike? Have you ever watched his show? I've learned so much on that show. Mm-hmm. So it's just honest. It's just, you mean what you say. Advertisers love that because they want to reach people. So they want to use the language that they speak now. Right. So this is why the advertising moved toward this more conversational style. So we have an example here, from AT&T, which is one of my clients as well. I didn't voice this one, but maybe you want to play that and so people can hear what conversational means in the context of commercials.
Sure.
For something a little bit silly.
And right now, trade in your iPhone any year, any condition, and get up to $1,000 towards your new iPhone.
Next, we're going to listen to a different speech pattern, which is the announcery kind of speech pattern.
Take control of your financial future to empower what's next.
You can hear sort of how it's more talking at me than talking with me, which in the first one, it seemed much more natural and like talking with us rather than at us.
Yeah, it's more casual, right? So this way of speaking here is that we just heard in the Empower ad is it's more reminiscent of the way people spoke when radio and TV emerged. People who were born in the mid-60s, later 70s, when language kind of loosened up, you could just listen to hippies in the 70s to listen to that loosening up. When language became more loose, which is our generations then and below us, we're like, oh, you're selling something to me, you're talking at me,
sure.
I like it, right?
Yeah.
That's what we call more announcery, and that's what we move, because that style, even though nobody speaks like that anymore. Well, that's not true. Some older people may speak like that, but it's stuck around in advertising for way longer than it perhaps should have, because language was much more casual it's been a long time. We've been casual for a long time. So now to bring it back, I think we should play another couple of examples because of just how casual it is now. So there's this Apple spot that we can play.
Most people quit their New Year's resolutions by the second Friday in January. It's called Quitter's Day. Look it up. But what if we didn't quit right after starting? Or because it's raining or something? What if we had some extra motivation? This year, what if a little bit of help on our wrists
Goal achieved
could help us quit quitting?
Yeah, totally different.
Right?
Totally different.
And very reminiscent of the way we speak.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. It is it's much more reminiscent. And I think it some of the technique is, they're not hitting the certain words as hard as people of an older generation might be like, you got to hit the hero in a certain way and you got to do things in a certain way. It's kind of not the case in that ad.
Yeah. Let's play another one because now we have an announcer. Like, you talked about even your announcer reads now are so much more relaxed than they were. So we have an example from Flonase where it's an announcer copy. It's the role of the announcer and doesn't sound like announcer so much.
Allergies don't have to be scary. Spraying Flonase daily stops your body from overreacting to allergens all season long. Psst, psst, you're good.
And it's just much more different, certainly than the Empower guy.
Yeah, it's much more relaxed. It's like a relaxed announcer.
Yeah.
So, and now, when people say they don't hear it, it actually is on air, but the audition for that might have been even more casual than that.
Sure. I guess the question is, and certainly in our coaching together, when you've been coaching me, it doesn't necessarily come quickly to make that transition, to, at least for me, to undo some of those habits. If we're just talking like we talk, why do you think it's so hard, and why do you think it takes so long for people to become conversational?
Like we already talked that way. Why is it so hard?
Right.
I think there's a few different things. It's not hard for everybody. I think if you haven't been rewarded for more formulaic kind of speech, it's a little bit easier. If you have some acting skills or acting training or just are natural in acting, it's a little bit easier. Mm-hmm. I also think the language, I know, we all know the language is like extremely, I call it trappy, just traps us.
Yeah.
It just brings us down with it, so we have to find ways to have it not do that. And the other thing too is that by the time you're like 20 years old, you've heard like a million commercials. So you're kind of conditioned, and this is something that, I tried to address on my podcast, which is still available. People can still check it out. Mm-hmm. Just go on my site and you can sign up for it. It's free.
We'll have a link. We'll have a link for them.
Yeah. So, but one of the things I wanted to do on the podcast is because we just hear commercials and we think, well, that's what we have to do. Okay, that's fine. Maybe for the session, but make sure you listen to the right commercials because there's a lot of crappy commercials out there. If you just don't filter and you think that's your job, you're really not going to be competitive, neither for a session or for the audition. So you have to be very picky and really pay attention to good commercials, because the good commercials, like we just played, they're not going to be so trappy. But because we've been inundated with crappy commercials, it's hard to get that out of our heads. Yeah. It's just, it's normal. We've been conditioned, and for someone like you or me, you've been rewarded for that behavior. It's just hard.
Yeah. Yeah, it can be. I know when I've coached, setting up home studios, I've coached like a lot of people who are transitioning out of radio. Mm-hmm. And radio has a very specific, diction and delivery. And all of a sudden they're like, I've read a million commercials, but I can't read a commercial because like their delivery when they were doing them for the radio is,
completely different.
It's just totally different. And, for me, being an announcer and a narrator educator type, a lot of training videos, I had developed my pathway had developed a groove that it was hard for me to step out of it at times. Mm-hmm. And so I know it can take some people a long time.
Yeah. But once you start to get it, it kind of comes, you just got to get over that hump and allow yourself to have these experiences. But yeah, it's not easy. And I come from radio, that was my background. So yeah, I get it. I know the struggle, I've been through it. I can teach it now because I've gotten over it, but it was, I had some rough years there where it was a lot of rejection and, you sound like an announcer and, you know.
Okay. So, many voice actors, when they're new, there's a lot of different coaches out there. A lot of coaches are quite expensive. So if your budget is limited, but you want to start to compete in this very red ocean, how can somebody learn how to become conversational?
I've got the solution.
I sort of set this up for you.
I put everything I taught you in a can, and the can is available. Basically, that's kind of true.
What's your class called?
So it's called The Art of Becoming Conversational 101. So it's part of a larger program because becoming conversational is one part of the equation, really. as you know, that's kind of the big piece. But then the little tweaks to actually book more work, they come after that.
Right.
So this is the ground floor.
Great.
And basically in this class, it's an online class that you can do at your own pace. It's a do it yourself. I've basically taken everything I coach my students and I put it in this class. It's basically what I coach my students is basically a process that I put you through so that you can get all the ingredients you need to create this conversational recipe. And then you repeat this recipe over and over and over until eventually, as you repeat it, because as you know, it's like repetition.
Yeah.
And as you repeat it, you become more conversational. So all these elements are in this course and you can do it yourself. And that's it.
Okay. So Lili, you cover your ears for a second, because I'm gonna talk to the booth junkies out there.
Okay.
Lily's been my coach for a long time. And I've gone through not only talking with her, but I've also taken the online class. She allowed me to have access to it. And what she teaches in the course is exactly what we worked on week over week as she helped me skill up so that I could win more gigs. So I can testify, I could give a testimonial that what she teaches one-on-one, which ain't cheap, you're getting virtually the same content in the pre-recorded stuff. So you don't have to decide, where am I going to spend thousands of dollars? You can do this a lot less expensively by just paying attention to what she says in the class and following along with the examples. I did it, and I can attest that what I learned in my one-on-ones is the same stuff that's in the pre-recorded class. So if you're looking for a testimonial on her training class, you can look at the guy who's done them both. All right, Lili, come back to us.
All right, here I am.
So let's talk about what your course actually does and who it's for.
Okay, so this course helps you to become conversational. Mm-hmm. It's for anyone who isn't able to book any work, doesn't know why. I think this is like the missing ingredient in most people's kind of arsenal. Mm-hmm. It's for you if you didn't even know you had to be conversational to do VO. This is definitely for you. If you've tried to do it and it works sometimes, but it doesn't work all the time. It's also for you if you're an announcer and you want to just upgrade your skill sets. If you're coming from TV and radio, if you're a broadcaster looking to pivot to VO, I have a lot of students that are like that, and they've gone through the same process, and it's extremely helpful.
At first, I thought the course was going to be, well, if you want to get up into the McDonald's, AT&T, Nike advertisements, this is what you have to learn. But what I've learned is these techniques apply kind of all the way down. So if you're finding gigs by, submitting on something as free as Casting Call Club, if you're on the pay-to-play sites, if you're on Voices or Voice Realm or Bidalgo or any of those, the techniques that Lili has shown can help you really stand out among sort of the great unwashed, the people who are sort of in the beginning of their journey. If you're looking to skill up, what she teaches you can absolutely help you skill up, but it can also really help you stand out if you're in the pay-to-play world and there's 100 auditions and 95 of them are kind of untrained folks, and then you come in and you've been through Lili's techniques, your audition will sound way different.
Well, this course, if I had to describe what this course is, I would say that it's improvisation with a purpose. Or if you want to get pretty, improvisation with script analysis. So to be conversational, we use a technique, we use improvisation. We use what I call ad libs. So they're little improvisations. And you put them around the script and they don't end up in the real job. You don't end up doing that in the session with the client, but they're like training wheels to get you to speak more naturally, right? So But what I found was that I used to just get people to do them a little generically, and it didn't help them be conversational reliably. Like it helped them for a second, but and it does happen in stages. You know, you become conversational in one line, and then 2 lines, and 3 lines. You know, It does happen in stages, but generic improvisations were not nearly as effective as very specific improvisations. And this whole course, basically, what I teach is to mine the data in the script. The script has a lot of data. You learn a lot of script analysis that mostly goes unused, especially when you're relying on your voice. So all that data goes unused, but it's full of gold. It's what the advertiser has spent months cooking together. It's the message. It contains the message that they want you to deliver. So we mine the script for all the information, and all the information, we use it for our improvisations. So they're meaningful improvisations. So we can maybe look at a script and do a little demo of what a generic ad lib would be and what a more specific one would be.
Okay.
We can look at the T-Mobile script.
Let's see it.
So give us that generic ad lib and just give us a first line of this script.
Hey man, check this out. It's T-Mobile's Guide to Moving Day.
Right? So that's a generic ad lib. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now give me an ad lib. This ad lib I put together here is based on what's going on in the script here. So go ahead and say it now.
Oh man, I know. Moving is such a pain. But I made this little guide to help you. It's awesome. It's called T-Mobile's Guide to Moving Day.
Yeah, there we go, right? That's different.
For an ice cold read, yeah. I mean, but you can feel that it's different.
It's different, right?
Yeah.
And now, and by the way, what you just did now, that would stand out because everybody's going to do what you just did the first time.
Yeah.
Right? Everybody's going to go cold. They're going to say T-Mobile's Guide to Moving Day. Step 1, right? Where you went T-Mobile's Guide to Moving Day, right? So it's different. Why? Because we got specific with the ad lib, right?
Right.
So the course is full of things like that, where we get very specific with what's going on in the script. So now your training wheels are really helping you to loosen up that script and and you end up sounding like yourself.
Yeah.
Even if you're saying something like T-Mobile's Guide to Moving Day, right?
Right.
You're never going to say that to anybody in your life. This course gives you those training wheels to do that.
Right.
And it's pretty magical. As you can see, it just transforms the read.
Yeah.
Now, is it going to transform your read the first time that you do it? Maybe not. You're going to need some practice, which is why it's a repeatable process that I teach.
Of course.
Key is to repeat it, right?
Right.
So, but it's amazing. The results are amazing.
Yeah, and it really has been for me. And you know, like you said, it is something that I had to actually practice. You don't learn how to play guitar in a week. You have to practice so that the notes start to sound natural and emotional. Yeah. And converting that reading voice to making it the natural voice, especially when we're not necessarily off book. It's not like we're doing 8 shows a day or 8 shows a week with this script. We saw the script 5 minutes ago, and it's got to sound natural in 5 minutes. And so the kind of techniques that you've helped me sort of ingrain into myself so that I can do that, and understanding when and how those ad libs should go was really a big thing. Because my ad libs would be like, T-Mobile's Guide to Moving Day. It might be like, or
and it doesn't work. It
just
doesn't do
work.
anything for you because you're not communicating. You're not looking at the data. You're just adding this little training wheel, but it's not very effective, right?
Right.
So, so that's what this whole course is about. It's basically giving you the tools so that you, as the human being, the artist, the actor, has the tools that you need so that you won't feel like a phony. You'll just feel like the words are an extension of yourself. So that's why I call it like you stop reading, start speaking.
Yeah.
Because you just end up sounding like you're speaking.
Yeah.
Right.
It makes a big difference. Makes a big difference.
So, it's a very meaty course. There's a lot to it because, as I was creating this course as I was, as I'm coaching you. So as I was coaching you, it was like everything is there for you to do it on your own. I've put everything there for you. So you can just go to the link and sign up. But if you want to, have your questions answered. I want to make sure that this works for you as much as it can. I want to meet you where you're at with this. So I'm not coaching in this, but I am offering 6 live Q&A calls for this launch.
Mm-hmm.
And, those are there for you to come with your questions. And so I can answer them and, basically so that you can go and have this be as effective as possible for your practice so that you can get good at this and master this. And then, after that, you might need a tiny bit of tweaking so you can start like really elevating your game. Like this is part of a program called Elevate Your VO Game. And that's exactly what it does. It gets you to the next level wherever you're at. Yeah. And this is the ground floor.
Great.
So, you just sign up and the live Q&A calls are available for this launch. I don't know if they're going to happen again, but they're available for this launch.
Is that 2 different prices? So there's a price for the class, and then are the Q&A classes, is that an add-on?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
Separate. Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
great.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, so you don't have to do it, but it's there. If you want the support, it's there.
So I encourage you to go down to the link. I'll also say, it's not a commission. I'm not getting a commission for this. The link just goes over to Lili. I'm helping spread the word about this because I believe in Lili and I believe in the techniques. I'm not doing this for any money. So accept my testimonial as it's the truth because it's worked for me. So, but you're welcome. I'm not getting a commission. I'm not getting a kickback. It's not an affiliate link. It's none of those things. We're here because Lili has helped me, and I want her to be able to help as many voice actors as they can to pursue their dream and to get better at their craft, to win more gigs so that they can get as much joy out of this work as you and I get. Because it is joyful work. It's hard work at the beginning, but it is joyful work once you get into it. Yeah, it is. It is hard work, but it is joyful work. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, thank you so much. I'm so glad we at least got to give a little taste of what that class has, and talk about the context of why this class is important. And I think it is. I think it is important. And at the price you're offering it, it's super affordable. It's super affordable for all of the good industry stuff that's in there. So thanks for making it. Really, thank you for making it. Yeah, no, I really wanted to offer something that people could get access to without having to coach with me. And the other thing too, is that if you do go through it, I will offer a class group. I will offer group coaching for people who've gone. Great. So that'll make, and the whole idea behind this is to make group coaching or private coaching more affordable, because once that's out of the way, it's much easier. You're easier to coach, right? Basically, and things go a little bit quicker. So if you're someone who prefers, in-person coaching, watching this, go through this first. It'll make our coaching easier, whether that's in a group format, which is obviously more affordable than private coaching. So, but whatever way that you want, this is just a great entry for us to be on the same page and to get you going where you want to go. Yeah, bring everybody up to a particular skill level, a baseline, so that you can start to talk about the concepts and actually do it, and make sure everybody is sort of in that level. I think that's the same page. Yeah, and it doesn't even have to be the same skill level, but everybody gets it. We all get it. We need tweaks maybe to get there, but we all get it, right? Yeah. Excellent. Well, Lili, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us today. And anybody who's looking for the class, go sign up. It'll be worth it. Go sign up. It'll be worth it. Thanks for having me, Mike. It's my pleasure. Thank you, everybody. And I hope this helps. And we'll see you on the next one. Now get out there and record something amazing. Thanks.